What is going on, everyone? Hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to another episode of CSGO News. I hope you guys all enjoy. As per usual, all today's stories will be timestamped down below. Let's get into it. Why don't we? The first story, huge news out there. Complexity have now made roster changes, and it will be the addition of 15-year-old oBo to the roster to replace Stanislaw from that team, which to me was incredibly shocking. Now, of course, Complexity kind of pulling a Cloud9 over the past 4 to 6 months. They've had a few roster changes here and there, a few surprises, and with this being said, the 15-year-old, that being oBo, does turn 16, I believe, this month. So that's not the worry about this. The worry, though, is you've now dropped one of the best North American IGLs currently in the region, and where he's going to go is, of course, the bigger question of this, because Stanis has now confirmed he left on his own, and because of this, he felt the project could not be with him or be better off with him. And so my real big question about this is, where is he going to go? Cloud9, NRG, you know, the thoughts are going to go through my head, because this guy sacrificed an easy major spot, easy major stickers. He stepped down on his own, and for me, it's either, wow, great respect because you want the best for Complexity because you feel they can't play very well underneath you, or you have a backup plan, which I think is going to be the case here. I really do think our next major will have Stanislaw involved in some way on some team. The question is now what team that's going to be. Now, for the future of Complexity and what this means for them, Def will now be the IGL, take those reins away from Stanislaw, and of course a new 15-year-old would join that roster. Although with that being said, all the Liquid guys, a lot of pro players out there have given great compliments to oBo and his future, but nonetheless, you're going to have a 15/16-year-old on this brand new roster and now top tier CSGO. This roster will easily, to me, I'm curious what you guys think about this, will certainly be one of the weakest lineups in the next major because of just a sheer lack of experience, a brand new IGL. It seems pretty simple equation-wise why I'm very much going to underrate Complexity come next major. Do I respect this move? I certainly do so, because we have seen many a times this kind of risk actually pay off. Will it though here? That is the mystery. Because I don't need to give you guys a long list of players out there who we had no idea who they were. They came up, a team out there took a risk on them. You know, Stewie, of course, the iconic example of this, and it paid off greatly for that roster and future rosters who had Stewie on it. Is this a huge risk? It certainly is. You lose one of the best NA IGLs, you replace him with Def, who has obviously a lack of experience compared to Stanislaw, and you bring in a very young player before this next major. It's a huge risk. I do respect that kind of risk as well. Will it pay off? Is something I'm very worried about. And again, I do think Stanislaw will go somewhere. You guys can leave a comment down below. Where do you think he will go? Cloud9 or NRG are probably going to be your top picks. I would say maybe even more so likely NRG if they're willing to replace Daps on that roster is the only case. And again, of course, those are just thoughts going through my head right now, but a huge change for Complexity, and I'm definitely going to make that video sometime very soon, guys, because the list of teams making big changes as we approach the major is growing and growing and growing. What are teams... This next story, guys, well, it might not surprise you. If you've heard rumors about this, well, they've now been confirmed. That is Virtus.pro apparently losing a 5v4 in one of the open qualifier matches. Now, we have long talked about the struggles of Virtus.pro and where they have come to be. This continues, though, to be the meme around this team. Unfortunately enough, it was actually during an open qualifier match for the closed qualifier for eventually the minor, just to show you guys how far back they are in the major process and how early this actually was on in that process as well. It was during the European Open Qualifier number 3. The last one, number 4, I believe, started yesterday as well, so that'll be Virtus.pro's last chance. But during their run, it was actually against a team known as Team Step, and then one of their members also clarified on Twitter after the game that they had apparently won a 4v5 against Virtus.pro. Later clarification of this, guys, it was actually an 8-7 split half on Nuke. Then eventually one of their players, that being from Team Step, one of their players known as Tobas, actually disconnected due to internet issues, and they played the remaining part of that game and actually took them to overtime, that being Virtus.pro, while playing a 4v5. Then Tobas reconnected in time for overtime, and they won that match against Virtus.pro. So, albeit said, okay, it was on their CT side, they won a 4v5 against Virtus.pro for one half of a game on Nuke, on, of course, an extremely favorable side. It does make somewhat of sense. This would happen to maybe a couple teams out there, but in professional CSGO, there is no other team you would name this is actually more likely to happen to than the Virtus.pro roster. Yes, they lost a 5v4 on their T side of Nuke, that Virtus.pro's T side, the team who beat them 4v5 though on their CT side. It's just, could you name a more iconic name right now in CSGO that would have this happen to them? I don't think I could. In very short news as well, Drone's Overwatch ban has now been cleared because it was temporary for griefing. So great job, CSGO community and Twitter and all of you guys out there that of course got him the attention required to get that cleared. He can now continue playing, of course, in the American minor closed qualifier as well with his team Peaker's advantage. So that's great to hear. You'd hate to see a pro player out there being not allowed to actually play and compete in their major run as well because of a griefing ban. So that's now been cleared. But very lastly, for all of you guys, let's break down the SirScoots versus Sadokist fight. It's going to be very surprisingly very short for all of you because this was actually a huge Twitter fight a couple of days ago this past weekend, but I'm going to break it down for you guys very shortly because it was not near as complicated as I initially thought it was. So Sado starts all of this off with a very simple tweet. Now we all know the Blast Pro controversy, the refresh controversy, mainly the way Blast Pro events have been run and kind of lied about, you know, exactly how much of a schedule they will be taking up throughout the year. Sado tweets out this, guys, very simply stating just a few words out there, and then things, well, exploded into a whirlwind. He does say, at each of the previous 4 events I have attended, at least one player has told me, unsolicited, that they do not like attending Blast events for travel, schedule, etc. When asked why they don't say or do anything about it, their answers have been consistent: we cannot. Now this is probably the initial part of this that is actually most important. Now we actually have officially, according to Sadokist, several players out there. It could be 4 players, it could be, you know, 8 players, who knows the exact amount. We have players who are not actually allowed to publicly vocalize their hate or disgust or discontent with the Blast Pro events due to apparently some sort of legal reasons out there, which is the biggest part of this argument. But then SirScoots gets involved. If you guys do not know, actually the runner of the is it the CSPPA? I think that's what it's called. It's the Counter-Strike Pro Player Association, and he thinks he was targeted by Sadokist's initial tweets, and so he fired back fully. As he responded by calling out Matt, saying he was fine working for Blast until he fricked up last event, and apparently they told him he had to sit one out. Then Matt responds to that saying he was offered Sao Paulo, but he told them, he apparently had told them no. And the two go back and forth about this for quite some time. Actually, a large part of the conversation was pretty much the two calling each other liars. Either Sadokist saying that he had actually told Blast Pro no, he wanted to take a little break, or according to SirScoots, it was actually Blast Pro telling Sadokist he had to take one event leave of absence, apparently for freaking up a previous event. But then it gets, I guess, a little bit more juicy as the conversation does continue, but a lot of this conversation is them just going back and forth and bickering and calling each other liars, but it does indeed continue. As Scott claims that Matt was actually attacking the CSPPA, the organization or the association, which of course SirScoots does work for. Matt says he didn't target anyone with those tweets. He simply wanted to give people the context and the facts he was given. And then Scott continues the attack with these and saying how Matt continues to burn all of his bridges. And then one last tweet for all of you guys where Scott just... Much respect to the guy. Of course, our latest stories around SirScoots or Scott Smith is, of course, his target of denial at the esports and their outing of the esports scene. He ends it, though, with this tweet, and it's just, whoo, the fastball. So if you want the overall super quick summary, we have Sadokist saying that players cannot publicly state their discontent with Blast Pro events. SirScoots gets angry because he thinks Sadokist is actually targeting the player association, which he works for. Sadokist says no. They go back and forth about that, but they also previously went back and forth about either Sadokist saying himself he didn't want to work for a Blast Pro event, or of course SirScoots saying it was actually Blast Pro who didn't want him. Pretty much the whole conversation is them going back and forth and denying each other and actually calling the other a liar. And ultimately, what do we get out of this, guys? Well, I would say I hope they can actually resolve all of these issues. It seems they are clearly not friends by this. Ultimately, how I feel about this, and again, I'm interested in what you guys think about this as well, because it's weird to take something away from this, but I feel like we need to, is the fact, if what is Sadokist is, what he is saying is actually true, which it does seem very likely. I don't think he would have any reason to lie about this. If there are players who are tied to our Counter-Strike Player Association, who are also tied to Blast Pro events, which they have discontent with, how are they not, voicing those opinions publicly, or at least not allowed to? I wish that SirScoots, because he usually is a very reasonable guy, a very honest guy as well, I wish he would have come forward with something more to kind of clear both sides here, instead of just both the parties attacking each other. It's hard to draw too much away from this, but SirScoots, that being of course Scott Smith and Sadokist, go back and forth with each other this past weekend. What do you take from it? I'm not really sure. But as always, I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode of CSGO News. I'll be back here sometime very soon with more to break down for all of you as we slowly approach all of our major runs. All of our closed qualifier teams for the minor competition are almost confirmed. So I hope you guys all enjoy. I'll be breaking those down somewhat soon. And to kind of leave you guys with one last question as well, is there any team out there you guys know of to be a surprise minor competing team? Let me know in the comment section down below. Mine, I'm going to stick with this through in and out, is going to be Wendigo this time around. I think Wendigo make a major. Of course, I could be wrong because because Europe is going to be so heavily competitive. But super curious if you guys have any surprise teams out there you think might make a minor run into the major qualifier. You guys can leave those comments down below as per usual. But until next time, guys, I hope you all take care, and I'll see you soon.